When we weren't getting good, we were savoring these moments. I'm Ashley with WatchMojo, and these are the top 10 Dark Souls moments. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. We'll be taking a look at our favourite Dark Souls moments, but we won't be including boss battles since they have a list of their own. However, that doesn't mean we won't be including boss-related moments, so let's check out that list.
Ah, hello. You don't look hollow, far from it.
Number 10, entering the painted world of Ariamis. Dark Souls. To experience this for yourself, you'll first need to find the peculiar doll in the Northern Undead Asylum and then return to Anor Londo, where you can now enter the large painting located in the chapel. What you're greeted with is an awe-inspiring view of a colossal, snowy mountain with a cathedral perched at the summit. Mysterious, eerie, and just a little creepy, the painted world of Ariamis gave a bold first impression, and we've never forgotten that moment when we spawned on that rickety bridge. Number 9, meeting King Vendrick. Dark Souls 2. The tale of King Vendrick is one of the most fascinating bits of Dark Souls lore. Once a ruler of a prospering kingdom, Vendrick was eventually turned hollow, forever wandering around the undead crypt. Players assumed that, like Lord Gwyn in Dark Souls 1, Vendrick would also be the final boss, and were ready for a fight. But when players found him dragging his sword, completely indifferent to their presence, dread turns into pity and then sorrow for the fallen lord. This moment is a perfect example of the Souls series' ability to make the players reflect. Number 8, getting married. Dark Souls 3.
Your spouse awaits you.
In a dark, dismal world such as Dark Souls, the last thing we'd expect to be able to do is get married. But don't expect beautiful maidens, flower showers, and joyous bells. After completing a series of very specific and obtuse tasks, head back to Firelink and speak with Yuria.
Ah, greetings, our lord and liege. Good tidings. Thy spouse is ready.
Once you've headed further down the chamber and retrieved the wedding ring, you can begin the ceremony. Only thing is, this isn't ceremonious at all, as your partner Henri just lays there as you impale her. We try not to judge others, but this is getting into red wedding territory.
Now thou art the true and deserving Lord of Hollows.
Number 7, leaving Blighttown. Dark Souls. Blighttown has become synonymous with Dark Souls' legendary difficulty, and traversing the dark, rickety, poison-filled nightmare led to a lot of rage quits. It's an area that demands your utmost performance and undivided attention. One small slip-up could lead to instant death. So you can imagine the relief when players finally made it out of Blighttown alive. It's one of the most relieving moments in the series, especially when you realize that the zone itself is actually very small and you feel much bigger yourself for having made it through. Number 6, releasing the Floodgates. Dark Souls.
You have the Lord Vessel. Very impressive.
One of the most exciting moments in the Dark Souls franchise lies within discovering new areas. Exploring new paths and uncovering illusionary walls shows that From Software put a lot of thought into crafting each game's world, and it especially shows during your time in New Londo. Upon releasing the Floodgates, you discover that an entire section of New Londo was underwater, and it connects to a few other locations such as the Valley of Drakes. It's secrets like this that kept us playing for just a few more minutes, or hours.
Well, I suppose they wouldn't be far off.
Number 5, falling into the old chaos, Dark Souls 2. This may have been a brief moment, but it isn't one that we'll ever forget. When you reach the end of the Grand Cathedral in Eliam Lois, you find 4 knights awaiting your arrival as well as a misty entrance. Usually, these misty doorways would lead to another room. This, on the other hand, leads to a seemingly bottomless pit. The fall itself is a bit mesmerizing, and it's a cool way to introduce players to Old Chaos before the epic boss fight against the Burnt Ivory King. Number 4, soloing Ornstein and Smough, Dark Souls. We and many others consider this to be one of the best, if not the best, fight in the entire franchise. As challenging as fights in the franchise get, this one blows most of the others out of the water, as it's a battle against 2 powerful opponents at once. Fighting Ornstein and Smaug is like a rite of passage for Dark Souls players, and it only counts if you can bring them down without any help. If the player is able to defeat this deadly duo, then they can pretty much overcome any other challenge in the series, so the feeling of defeating them solo is truly the moment a player can say they got good. Number 3, Sif Limping, Dark Souls. In Dark Souls, and most games in general, boss fights get stronger and more difficult towards the end of the fight. This is done to mix up longer battles by giving bosses phases that increase difficulty. Sif is the opposite of that. As you weaken the giant wolf, she begins to limp around and the fight becomes significantly easier in the final moments. It's a powerful image because the player soon realizes that Sif isn't a real enemy, she is just protecting the sight of her former master. Any satisfaction of killing this boss is replaced with remorse instead. Number 2, Rediscovering Anor Londo, Dark Souls 3. Anor Londo is one of the most stunningly beautiful locations you can discover in the Dark Souls franchise, with its warm sun beaming down on the city. It was a gorgeous environment, but players spent most of the time looking down on it rather than exploring it. So, returning to Anor Londo in Dark Souls 3 was unexpected, but very welcome. Even when it's shrouded in darkness, the city is breathtaking, and it was nice reminiscing events from the first game before we continued our adventure. Number 1, Solare Story, Dark Souls.
Ah, hello. You don't look hollow, far from it.
There's a reason Solare of Astora has become Dark Souls' most iconic character. Despite only appearing in the first Dark Souls game, Solare boasts the most unique and impactful questline we've experienced in the franchise.
No need to hide your reaction. I get that look all the time.
When you first meet Solare, he's a friendly, hopeful knight who will happily aid you as he tries to find his own son to praise. However, as you encounter him more and more, he begins questioning his purpose in life until most players found him overtaken by a parasite. Rarely does a game make you feel this heartbroken over a character, and it's Solare's story that helped make Dark Souls so memorable.
Forgive me, I was just pondering about my poor fortune.
So, are you done praising the sun now? Maybe leave a comment below, watch one of these other videos, and subscribe to WatchMojo.